So you brought up about the issue with trespassers, and that reminded me that when we first got on the property, we had a huge problem with trespassers.
Well, that's why I'm hoping that the signs and putting the purple paint up before that we actually got on the property that it would help, but it didn't help.
Yeah, when we first got here, this is something you got to be aware of. If you buy a property that's been abandoned, vacant, unused for years, like this one was, you might encounter people on your property from time to time who are not supposed to be there.
Even a couple years afterwards, because we did experience that still.
Especially hunters.
Yes.
That's the big issue. Hunting season, deer season.
I've got to say this to all my hunter friends out there. If you're going to hunt on somebody's property,
Ask
get
permission.
their permission first.
Ask permission.
Don't assume that because your granddad hunted there 50 years ago and your family has hunted there every year come deer season since, that it's still okay.
No.
We moved on the property. It had basically been left somewhat abandoned, untouched for I don't know how long, but for a long period of time.
I don't know.
And whenever we moved out here, we had, when hunting season came around, so did hunters. Even though we had signs posted, no trespassing, no
we had a gravel
hunting.
road that was done, and we've already done all this clearing, and you could tell somebody's working.
We had a street light installed.
We did do a lot of solar lights around here too.
We had solar lights, motion detecting solar lights.
Big investment.
Cars here on the property that you could see. A house under construction
Yeah.
that you could see.
It was visible. It wasn't
Okay.
like out of plain sight because it was visible.
And yet we still had multiple people park up at our gate, get out of their vehicle, and start walking down our driveway
Until they saw
carrying their firearm.
Yeah.
That is the textbook definition of stupid.
Oxymoron.
Sorry, but it is.
But I mean, like,
Don't do that.
And it's not just dangerous for them, but it's also dangerous for us too. Because if they're
Absolutely.
hunting on this property, like somebody else can get shot.
Well, our son was outside playing with his baseball bat. You know, he's a teenager. And he was sitting down and just got done sitting on the stump, and he was right in that area, and he just looked at the guy and was just watching him, and the guy finally noticed him, and he just started doing this to his baseball bat, and real quick the guy left.
So you need to be aware that there are going to be issues that can potentially happen like that. How are you going to deal with it? Remember, have a plan in place to deal with these situations. I recommend solar motion detecting lights. Those were a great investment.
Oh, yes.
Even before we had power on the property,
We had
just
those.
being able to walk, in this case, walk down our driveway at night and have motion detecting lights to go off as you're walking along is a big security factor for you. Now, I'm not saying that negates having a good flashlight or actually
one with you, or
right, having that or having people with you. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it supplements what you're doing.
But also, if there's like an animal that walks by, we'll also set it off.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
like, if we had a predator coming near us, we would see it before we got too close.
Right.
Because it's pitch dark out here. There's not a bunch of lights out here.
Yeah, until we put our solar light, our night light in, our street light, it was there was no light.
Well, the
where
main
we were
reason why we
at.
decided to do that because we was doing a lot of building.
We were in the
working
process
at
of building our
night.
house, and we
were.
needed it. It helped us to extend the
for
working
us.
hours
It
into
worked
the
out
evening.
really good.
But we had all this out here, and again, we still had issues with hunters. So my point being is that have a plan in place, know what you're going to do. If you're a hunter, please get permission. If it had been, somebody just come along, hey, look, me and my grandfather have, hunted here. Me and my son would like to hunt here if we can this season. We don't have a place to hunt from. If somebody would come up to me and ask that question,
Honestly.
it would have gone right. Things would have gone a lot differently, than what unfortunately it did in terms of just basically having to push back against allowing anybody, to hunt on the property. Because again, it's not so much there's an issue of safety for them. It's an issue of safety for yourself. You need to know who's coming and going on your property,
Sure.
and be polite. I mean, really, be
You don't
polite.
have to be ugly about it.
And if somebody comes up and they ask you that, that type of a question, you can decide how you want to handle it or deal with it under those conditions. But I can assure you, as a hunter, if you go up and you ask somebody politely, your chances of success are going to be a lot greater than if you just start hunting, prematurely on someone else's property.
Yes,
And
that's very dangerous.
it is.
It really is.
It's very unwise. It's very imprudent. So I would recommend, to do that. Now, again, we had signs posted.
Oh, yeah.
We went through and we went all the way down around the property, the perimeter with purple paint, signs posted on the backs of the property in different areas.
We even kept the gate closed too
Yes.
all the time, and they still coming over the. fence.
That was
Try to
something
open it
else.
up.
We normally prefer to keep the main gate open because it's within line of sight of the house anyways, and it's a hassle to have to open and close the gate every single time that you want to come and go. So for us, it made more sense to leave it open if we could. Plus, whenever we had deliveries. Now, at first, we weren't getting a whole lot of deliveries.
No.
I remember the first time we did have somebody show up doing a delivery. We had placed an Amazon order, and at that point in time, trying to get the address. By the way, if you want to get your address recognized by the United States Postal Service, plan well in advance of the time that you're needing to actually be on the property and have that address recognized. Just going to tell you,
It's real.
plan ahead.
It took us months.
We went through the process, and we started the process in October, and when we came on the property in March, it still wasn't done. I don't believe it finally actually worked through their entire system until late April. So you figure that one out. That's about 6, almost 7 months worth of work trying to get the address
They kept on
recognized.
saying you have to have the 911 thing. I'm like, well, it's already done. It's already done. It's already done. I give them the address to the local people that lived right next to us. Well, we see those, but we don't see yours.
Yeah. It was a challenge.
Yeah.
So we finally got it situated, but it took a long time, almost 6, maybe 7 months from the time that we first began, very first part anyways, until it was finally all said and done. So keep that in mind. Have a plan in place, again, for this. But anyways, I placed an order on Amazon, and I only expected them to leave it at the gate. That was my intent. But we had left the gate open the night before, and I heard, it was like, I don't know if it was on what it was.
It was
Anyways,
a Saturday you was off.
it was whatever. It was a day I was off. I remember that because I heard this truck rumbling down the driveway, and again, the driveway at the time is not like it is right now, where it's nice, big, open, and clear. It had the Scooby-Doo trees going
I liked
over
the
top of it.
Scooby-Doo trees.
Very. It was a very nice aesthetic, but I have to say, it wasn't very practical for deliveries.
No, it really was.
And so the USPS, USPS, not USPS, UPS. Excuse me, the UPS driver, big brown truck, bouncing down the driveway was not. This is before we had it gravelled.
Yeah.
He's bouncing down through the driveway.
Like
and I'm-
nobody's business. Like it's just like, okay, whatever. This is
Probably been down these
normal.
roads before.
I was feeling very, very sorry for this guy at this
He didn't
point.
care. He was cool. He's a
He
cool
was
dude.
a nice
cool.
guy.
It was great.
He was dropping off something I'd ordered, and I had to tell him, I said, I didn't expect you coming down the driveway. He goes, yeah, if you don't mind, I'm not going to again. So I said, I do understand. I said, just for right now, until we get the driveway fixed, you can just leave any of the packages up
And
at
then
the
once we
gate.
got the driveway fixed,
and-
they come down all the time.
Yeah, and after we had all the gravel put in, we had no problems. I mean, now
They don't mind.
this driveway is huge compared
Our
to what
mail
it
carrier,
was.
she's really sweet. She comes all the time.
So we have no problems at this point getting
It's better
deliveries.
than the road now.
But at the time, that was an issue. So again, have a plan in place for these things. You know what you're going to do. For deliveries. If you're going to have a place in town, if you're going to use a Dropbox location or a post office box or a friend or a neighbor, whatever your plan is, have it in place ahead of time.
We probably, I think, maybe should have gotten a post office box temporarily while we got it set up here.
It would have been wise for us to have
That
done
would probably
so.
be the first thing to do.
But
we didn't think
we
that
didn't
was gonna
believe
be
it would
an
take
issue.
that long.
Didn't think it was going to be an
Honestly,
issue.
we didn't. We had no idea it would take that long. And I'm not telling you that it's always going to take that long in your situation.
In
It
our
might not.
experience, it just
So it
did.
did us.
It did us.
Every experience is different.
So keep
Yeah.
that in mind. Be aware of that. But after we got the power hooked up on the property, things did move a little bit quicker and better for us. We were able to
Once you have water and power figured out, it's pretty much a breeze.
at that point.
To us, it was.
So, and that's something else too with regard to just homesteading or just your emergency plan in general. regardless of where you're at, have a plan in place for short-term power interruptions. That's solar, if it's a generator, either propane, natural gas, or regular gasoline, or diesel, whatever the case may be. If it's going to be battery backup storage, whatever your plan is, put one in place. Already know what you're going to do, because at some point you're going to have a service interruption on your power.
It's just
Well, I mean, we don't want to be on the grid forever neither. But it
Right.
was the easiest and the quickest for us to get it here for us to do that than anything else.
You need to figure out for your specific use case where your return on your investment is. Is it going to come through solar? Short term, long term. What do you have to invest into it? If you have $25,000 to drop on a solar system, and it's going to cost you maybe $10,000 to put electric in, traditional electric, you know what? It might be more advisable for you to go the direction with solar up front, truthfully, because over the life it will pay for itself.
Right.
On the other hand, if you can get, like we did here, as long as we met certain conditions, then we were able to have power put here for no charge. As long as the house was at least a minimum square footage, it had to be a certain distance, in terms of closeness or proximity to the road. We had to have water already in place, and our septic system, right? We had other things we had to have in place in order to be able to get power here. But once we had ticked all the little boxes, it was basically free at that point.
it's very good for us.
Right, very good for us. And plus, we had the benefit again by being able to get a street light here. And people say, "Well, I really don't want a street light." Well, then don't get one. For us, it made good sense.
Especially
Right.
while building.
While building, it come in handy and
We can
definitely
always
pay
have
for
it turned
itself.
off whenever we want to later
Right.
on, and actually put some that we can control when we want to have on.
That's the one thing I do wish we could do, is actually push a button and turn it off.
Or dim
Right.
it or something.
That would be good. Just to be able to sit out at night and enjoy the night.
But it's
Sky.
kind of
Sky.
good to have it on too, because of like the bears and stuff like that.
Sure. So where are we at right now? Well, at this point, we have overcome a lot in the last 3 years.
A lot.
We have our first house built. We
Still
still
working
are
on it.
working on it. It's not
Definitely.
done. All right. 3 years in, it still isn't done, and it probably will not be done for a while yet. We have our first chicken coop here done, and we have our not a chicken coop done,
That's the
The goat shelter.
the goat shelter. So we have that complete. We have
Almost.
there's like just a couple pieces of wood left on that one.
We gotta
lot of
come back
fencing
to the
work
chicken
around here.
coops. too.
We have done a lot of fencing work around here.
a lot of clearing.
A lot of clearing around here. One thing that you're going to recognize when you're homesteading is that it's almost like you're pushing this huge boulder. And when you first start pushing the boulder, it doesn't matter uphill, downhill, sideways. When you
It takes
first,
effort.
it's going to take a lot of effort.
Oh yeah.
And so even if you're just pushing it across flat ground, you're still going to, it's going to take some time for you
Slow
to
and
build
steady.
up some of that momentum.
For it to start rolling.
And then once you get the momentum going, you can keep things going a lot easier than starting from a dead stop.
Yeah.
And when we showed up here, we were starting from a dead stop. There was nothing here that we had going for us except for a 4x4 road, driveway, path, whatever you want to call
Well, it's all
this,
over the property too.
which was all over the property too, where people would just drive their four-wheelers or four-wheel drive trucks around the property in the past, because these had all grown up
They're
too.
run down now.
So
we've cleaned them up and made them wider though.
we
too.
have. We've cleaned a lot of them up and made them better, improved them, and that's
Eventually
something
we'll add
else.
gravel to them.
Eventually. So for right now, though, we've managed to do all this in the last 3 years. And keep in mind, this is coming from a family of 4 that came here from the city
Yeah.
that had never built a house
Never.
before. All right. I had plumbing experience, but I never plumbed an entire house. I'd almost done it one
You had to
time.
fix a P-trap under the sink, so that's about it.
Well, no, I had
Wait, no.
plumbed. Actually, I'd replumbed the house that your mom and I, whenever we
When
got
first
married,
got married.
that we lived in.
This is before me, though.
Oh,
So
yeah,
this
that
was
way
well before you. But
I
it
just remember
wasn't. It
that.
wasn't starting from nothing.
This
though.
is like early 2000s.
All right.
Yeah.
There's a difference between starting from nothing and starting from something. So to replumb a house offers its own challenges. To do it from nothing is a different set of challenges. Electrical, obviously roofing. We did, oh goodness, our concrete work, all of that. We dug out, the concrete pillar, the pads, and putting the pillars in. We did all that by hand.
By hand, no
equipment.
No equipment. Everything's all by hand. What you see here has all been done by hand.
Yes.
No big equipment.
So now we're at the point to where we are preparing to build our outlaw cabin. That's what I've nicknamed this, the outlaw cabin. And the outlaw cabin, something that I've always shared with them too that I want us to do. I want us to have multiple use cases for any structure or building that we put in place. I want the plan for that structure to solve more than one problem. So, example, when we built the chicken coop, we also did an addition to it for our goats. So it solved two problems. And the chicken coop that we first built allowed us to be able to store our chicken feed inside. Away
from the bears.
Away from the bears and other things. The not a chicken coop, the goat structure, it was to allow us to have, again, another structure for goats, so we could separate the mother and her two kids away from the other two, the buck and the other doe we had, so that they would be separate for a while, anyways, to give time for the little babies to grow up some.
Because they were so itty bitty.
Yes, and there was a little bit of some friction there. So we built that structure, but it also serves as a template for us to follow for other structures that are going to be used for goats, chickens, pigs, hopefully.
Find what we like and what works, so we can
Absolutely.
duplicate it over and over again.
The cookie cutter method does have some valid points to it, where you figure out a solution and you implement the solution. Right, and that's what we did with the most recent structure. Plus, it also allows us to be able to house chickens on the left side, so that we have a structure that houses our goats on the right side and chickens on the left, potentially.
Future pigs.
Or future pigs, you're exactly right. Whatever the case may be, we wanted it to be something that we could apply across multiple species. Right. So everything that we look at doing, we try to approach it and plan. Okay, I know this is built for this purpose.
Right now.
Is there something else we can do with it too? Is there some other problem we can solve if all we have to do is tweak it a little bit? Mm-hmm. So when I first began this project, the goal was to allow me to have an office location on the property. That way I would not have to travel to town anymore. I travel to the town that's closest to us. It's a good spot for me to go and work from. There's internet, power, water, sewer, all the usual things you'd expect for a place in town to have. And it's a good spot for me to go and you basically, get into my headspace that I need to do what I have to do. This structure is going to solve that, but allow me to be here on the property.
Be a bit bigger too.
And it will be bigger too, as well, or at least the whole structure will. Now, my portion of it for my office will not be, but the whole structure will be.
The structure to itself will be.
Right. Now, what else can this solve, though, beyond just the immediate use case? Well, we have a lot of books that are in storage.
Yes, because we homeschool.
We homeschool. So
I read a lot too,
we would like to have a place to where we could actually have bookshelves again. House right now, it's on the smaller side until we finish all the additions. And we're doing these in stages. We could have just taken and put this down there, but it wouldn't solve all these problems. It wouldn't give me an office to be able to office out of. It wouldn't give us another location to be able to have books and things for school, for homeschooling. Plus, we're also going to put a second level, or I should say we're going to extend the attic space an additional few feet to allow for the attic to become a loft. Right. That way it can actually be used as a bedroom. But in the short term, what it does, we have some stuff still in storage.
We have storage in town that we've been paying rent.
Right. It allows us to take that stuff out of storage and then place it here on the property, which allows us to get rid of that debt every month. Beware of debt. Beware of debt. I'm going to tell you that. Debt is not good, especially on a homestead. So it's going to allow us to be able to place all of this stuff up into the loft attic for a while we continue to build out the rest of the structure. The structure will have a little small kitchenette that'll be built into it too. a little small bathroom as well. And then, of course, like I said, the loft will eventually become, once everything is said and done, it's going to take a while before it's all said and done. But once it all is, the upstairs can become a bedroom space. That allows us to be able to, if we have, company, if we have a guest, someone who's coming for a visit, we have the ability of actually giving them housing them, having a place where they can stay, for a week or something like that while they're visiting with us. Right. So it serves that use case. Plus, on the back of the property, on the back of the house rather, we're going to put an extension for an outdoor kitchen.
Yay!
It's a big deal.
Big deal for me.
It's a big deal. I mean, being able to have a cooking area where, like, we like to grill out.
Yeah.
We like to smoke food.
And that's what we like entertaining too. We
Right.
haven't been able to entertain.
Can't do that here. It's not practical. So having that little kitchenette or the extended outdoor kitchen behind the property or behind the house is going to allow us to be able to have people come over, entertain guests, be able to sit outside in a screened-in environment. That way the bugs aren't a problem with you, hopefully. Sit in a screened environment to where we can entertain, visit with people. Again, somebody comes for a visit for a week or two, enjoy fellowship. We can do things with our church here where they can come up here and visit, and we can do some events here with
then
them.
we're going to have an outdoor sitting area with a pit too and everything too.
Yeah, we're going to do some other stuff too, but in terms of just the immediate use case, we've already solved 3 problems.
For office.
Office,
Storage from.
storage,
now,
sure.
and more housing, and also for us to use an outdoor kitchen.
Outdoor kitchen, that's the third problem. The fourth one would be
The books.
the books.
Those are the books, right?
Yeah,
I was
school.
gonna say we're talking about the same
School.
thing, right?
Yeah, school.
Schooling.
So we have schooling inside right now every day.
We're always
They do all that. That's not a problem. But being able to come up here whenever they want to, where my son can come up here and have some privacy when he's working on something for school. If she's coming up here working on something for school, whatever the case may be, they can do that. Have a little bit more privacy to do it. Right, for different activities. It also can allow us to do things too with regard to like board game night. Again, we can do all this stuff in the house, but it does fit to actually have a structure that can solve these multiple use case scenarios. But,
Like an entertainment area.
right,
That'd be great.
but we have another use case, don't we? What is it? Remember?
Do
We
we?
actually have a garage.
A garage.
You say
It's going to be
talking about
added
garage.
on that
Yes.
side, and then on this side will be for our tools.
So we're going to put basically what would be the equivalent to like carports, if you will, on each side of the property, on each side of the structure rather, just kind of the cabin, so that we can pull a vehicle up underneath and work on the car.
Because we
on the
work
truck.
on our own vehicles
Mhm.
if we can, or our tractor or whatever too. When you have a space that's enclosed in, you can actually work easier. The weather, you don't have to like, oh, it's raining, I can't do that. But you're having it covered, you can do it.
So being able to solve that use case on the back side, we're going to do the exact same thing too. So the part behind the camera, obviously, we're going to use as a enclosed structure for a garage. But then on the back side here, we're going to enclose that as well, and we'll be using it as a place to work on 2-cycle engines, 4-wheelers, our smaller items, and also overflow storage too.
Which means really well for us. Right?
Yes, it will. Because again, we have a lot of stuff. I mean, some things that really I don't want to get damaged or destroyed. A lot of tools, things of that nature, that you can't leave out in the elements, out in the open. And being able to have a covered garage on both wings of the house, of the cabin, that's going to solve another use case. So at this point, we have 4, maybe even 5 use cases that this one structure is going to solve. So the investment is not just in an office, which would be worthwhile to me unto itself, but it solves 4 other use cases too at the same time. And that is beneficial to the entire family.
And possibly more.
Right. So, and as time progresses, it can solve other potential use cases
Because we
too.
want to build a garage later on.
We do.
And when we do, we can change the area behind us that was wanting to put all the other tools into a place for me to be able to put my garden and stuff.
Right. So in the future, as our plans evolve and as we are able to evolve here on the
Structures will
property,
also involve it too.
right, structures take on new use cases. So the garage that we're building here as a addition on one side will remain, But then over here, we're going to build another garage in the future, which will be a much larger garage for us to be able to work on, park our vehicles, get them out of the elements, protect them, and allow us to be able to do, you know, some small engine repair, big engine repair, all of that within that garage. And at that point, to her point, the area behind here that gets closed in now takes on a new life. And that new life will be an area for us to do seed starts, you know, so that it'll be windowed. That area gets decent sun throughout most of the day. So it'd be a good area for us to enclose with windows so that we will be able to start seeds. You know, if we choose to, it can solve other use cases as well. It can be an area for crafts potentially too. You know, an area for like a little reading area if somebody wants to come outside and read. So even if it's in the cooler part of the year, you know, which for us is January, you know, February. If it's in the cooler part of the year, you can still go in there, and with adequate sunshine in that environment, you would still be able to actually enjoy the outdoors, indoors, even on a day when it's nice and sunny, but it's on the chilly side.
But,
So
you
this
know,
building will still hold purpose either way. Even if things change, we'll still have purpose to each building.
right.
that we
Yeah,
have
because
as
eventually we're going to build a big little garden
Yeah,
area,
greenhouse at some point in the
greenhouse for me
future.
eventually. Anyway, so it can be a temporarily until we build my big greenhouse for me, which
Right.
is my dream to have aquaponics in it and everything.
So all of these things, you know, are solved with just one structure, you know, for us. And in the future, of course, we have plans to expand the house that we're in. We have plans for another house on the property at some point in the future. We have plans we would like to do an actual official schoolhouse on the property at some point. Even though she's getting, you know, she's about ready to graduate. She's getting old,
I'm old, y'all.
But she still want to do college online
right?
But I could still, if I wanted to do college online there, I could. If I choose to
Absolutely.
do that.
if she decides, you know, whatever
So,
she wants to do.
We want to build an actual schoolhouse on the property. It's not so much just it's like basically imagine a library, you know, an old, you know, church, you know, type of looking structure that's used as a
schoolhouse.
library, old schoolhouse, right, from like the 1800s.
With a little furnace in the
Think
middle.
Little House of the Prairie look.
You know, something
And
along
Green
those
Gables.
lines.
And a Green
Yeah.
Gables.
So something that we can use to be able to allow for us to just go in there and, you know, take a coffee and do some light reading, take a laptop, do some studying,
Research.
right, do some research,
I love
Somewhere
that.
for me to store all my homestead magazines.
right, place to put homesteading magazines. Imagine it as a resource facility to where if things went crazy and you had to go old school,
You have that.
you have a
ability
place to
do
do it.
Yeah.